Why is she here? When a millionaire single dad discovers an unexpected bond, everything changes. Tom paced the polished marble floors of his grand home, the chill of the autumn wind seeping through the windows that stood like sentinels of wealth. His mind raced, tangled in a storm of emotions, dread twisting at the edges. The relentless thoughts of how he'd somehow lost control of his life gripped him. Here he was, a successful real estate mogul cloaked in opulence, yet suffocated by his own solitude. His daughter, Lily, withdrew deeper into her cocoon each day, a reflection of his own grief over losing Samantha, the love of his life, 2 years ago. Monitoring her descent into shadows made his heart ache even more, but he felt powerless. Why can't he reach her? Every conversation was a dead end, every attempt to connect met with silence. Then came the knock on the door. It was unexpected, the kind of moment that could throw everything into disarray. Tom opened it to find Mia, a distant relative he'd never met, but something about her, so warm and genuine, pierced through the haze of his confusion. Dressed simply, with a vibrant spirit, she stood in stark contrast to the surroundings of grandeur. Why was she here? Something told him she didn't belong in his world, a world he had carefully constructed, but now felt like a gilded cage. Alarm bells rang. He should have dismissed her immediately, yet he hesitated. Mia entered their lives like a refreshing breeze, tales of her struggles and dreams resonating with a truth he hadn't anticipated. Could he allow someone so different into the fabric of their family? A part of him felt compelled to protect Lily's fragile heart, but there was an inexplicable comfort in Mia's presence. As their discussions ventured into late nights filled with laughter, a flicker of hope ignited within him. But the more they laughed, the more Tom's unease burgeoned. What consequence lurked beneath this unexpected bond? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Doubt clawed at Tom's insides as he observed Lily warming to Mia, reclaiming the creativity that had dulled since her mother's passing. Could Mia weave herself into their hearts without shattering the delicate balance they finally began to establish? At every turn, the weight of insecurity pressed down harder. Just when it felt like they were inching toward restoration, a whispered secret came back to haunt him. Mia was connected to Samantha's past. A surprising revelation that rippled through his mind like a tempest. The implications churned within him, feeding his anxiety and dissolving the tentative trust he had begun to develop. Tom felt as if he were teetering at the edge of a precipice. The fear of losing what little he'd gained with Lily mixed bitterly with the moral obligation to face this new reality. Could understanding Mia change everything, or would it threaten to tear apart this fragile thread of connection? With emotions swirling and choices looming, he stood at a crossroads, desperate for clarity but engulfed in shadows of doubt. What would he do when confronted with this truth? A decision loomed ahead, one that could unravel everything he had begun to stitch together in the fraying fabric of their lives. Tom stood in the study, staring blankly at a towering stack of paperwork. The pages held little meaning while his mind was consumed with thoughts of Mia and Lily. Each document lay in wait for his attention, but all he could think of was the unsettling feeling her arrival had sparked. What did it mean to have a piece of Samantha's past intruding into their fragile present? The late afternoon sun cast long, soft shadows across the room, their elongated forms creeping ominously toward Tom. He closed his eyes for a moment, grappling with the tightness in his chest. In his mind's eye, he could see Lily painting in the corner, the sound of her laughter intertwining with Mia's voice. It was intoxicating, yet a lingering doubt clouded the potential joy. Could Mia really offer a pathway to healing, or would her presence only serve as a reminder of what they had lost? He took a deep breath, deciding it was time to confront not just his feelings regarding Mia, but also to reassess his relationship with Lily. This new dynamic threatened everything he had tried to protect, yet clinging to past hurt seemed equally detrimental. He realized that his own fear and despair had only served to distance him from his daughter. Instead of nurturing her rebirth of spirit, he had suffocated it beneath the weight of his grief. Returning to the living room, he found Lily perched on the floor, surrounded by a canvas and an assortment of paints. Her brow furrowed in concentration as she splattered vibrant colors across the white surface. A flicker of hope surged within him. She was discovering herself again, and he needed to meet her halfway. "Hey, kiddo," he said softly, crouching beside her. "That looks amazing." Lily glanced up, her expression shifting from surprise to delight, then quickly downcast again. "Thanks, Dad," she murmured, her gaze falling back to her art. "Can I join you?" She hesitated, eyes darting back to the canvas. "Sure, but it's really messy." "Messy can be beautiful," Tom replied, his voice steady. He grabbed an old brush and dipped it into a bright yellow paint. As he spread it across the canvas, he felt her watch him, the tension in her shoulders easing. "You know, the other day, I was thinking about how we haven't really talked about Mom in a while." Lily bit her lip, wariness settling in. "What do you mean? You can tell me how you feel about Mia too." "She's here to help, and she cares," Tom pushed gently. He desperately wanted to create a space where their emotions could coexist, where they could mourn Samantha while embracing the possibility of new connections. Lily's fingers clenched tightly around the paintbrush. "But she knew Mom. She's not like us. She doesn't know what it feels like to lose someone." Tom felt the words settle like a stone in his heart. "Lily, grief is something that brings us together and isolates us at the same time. Just because she knew your mom doesn't mean she can't understand pain. Maybe she can even help us find our way through it." Lily looked up, uncertainty threaded in her gaze. Tom saw her resolve wavering, torn between her instinct to shun the new and her budding curiosity about the woman who was slowly stitching herself into their lives. That a flicker of defiance ignited inside Tom. Rather than retreating into the shadows of his doubts, he felt a seed of determination taking root. He was done hiding, done living in fear of what new connections might bring. "Maybe we should invite Mia to join us," he suggested, his voice firm as he dipped his brush into another color, pouring his resolve into each stroke. Lily stared, part surprise, part realization rippling through her. The idea sparked something in her expression, and Tom couldn't help but feel a pang of pride. What he didn't know was whether inviting Mia could both bridge their hearts and lay bare those unresolved secrets looming in the backdrop. The decision was made. It was time to confront the complexity of their lives head-on, to intertwine Mia into their search for healing, a pivotal moment approaching on the horizon. But would Mia's presence dissolve the barriers he had tried to erect, or would it draw forth the demons of the past he had attempted to conceal? As the evening approached, Tom sensed the shifting tides. The time had come to face not only Mia, but also the unspoken truths that threatened to unravel everything he had worked so hard to rebuild. He wondered, would they emerge stronger from the storm, or would it tear them apart? Tom paced nervously in the living room, paint still smudged on his fingers, remnants of the spontaneous release he'd shared with Lily. Each step echoed the anxiety spiraling within him. Yes, he had taken a significant step by inviting Mia into their space, but the reality of that decision loomed heavy. What was he really asking for? Hope or heartache? He glanced at Lily, who was quietly focused on her painting. A whirlwind of colors represented her emotions, each stroke a release of something she couldn't articulate. He wanted that purity of expression. He wanted her to embrace the complexity of her feelings, just as he was beginning to. Lily looked up, as if sensing his turmoil. "Dad, do you really think Mia can help us?" The sincerity in her voice tugged at something deeper. "I believe she understands more than we know," he admitted, his mind racing through potential responses. What did he know about Mia's capacity for compassion? Could she really guide them through the murky waters of their grief? Before he could respond, the doorbell rang, jolting him. The sound echoed in his mind, reverberating between excitement and dread. He exchanged a quick glance with Lily, her eyebrows raised in a mix of intrigue and apprehension. "Want to come with me?" She nodded, though he could see the uncertainty flickering in her eyes. They walked together to the door. Tom took a deep breath before swinging it open, revealing Mia with an inviting smile that belied the gravity of the situation. "Hi, Tom." "Hi, Lily," she greeted, her tone soft and genuine. "Hey," Tom replied, gesturing for her to come in. We were just working on some art. Mia's gaze landed on the vibrant canvas, and a warm smile spread across her face. It looks beautiful. What a wonderful project you both have going. Lily shifted her weight, unsure of how to respond. Tom felt the tension shift. Mia had stepped into the room, but would she truly step into their lives? I thought it'd be nice if I could join you, Mia offered, and Tom's heart raced. Her willingness to engage felt like an olive branch, yet something inside him hesitated. The more Mia engaged, the more he had to face the reality of her presence. Sure, we could use some help with the colors, Lily said, surprising both herself and Tom. Dipping her hands in the variety of paints laid out, Mia stood alongside them on the edge of the canvas. Everyone started to contribute, and slowly the painting morphed into a collective expression. But beneath the surface, Tom was acutely aware of the political tension simmering between the past and the present. What do you think it means to let someone new in, to trust again? Tom asked Mia, carefully choosing his words. Each syllable weighed heavily, like asking for guidance from someone straddling the line he hesitated to cross. Mia paused, her eyes reflecting the struggle of her own experiences. It's releasing a grip on the past, she replied gently. But it can be terrifying. You wonder if you're keeping the memory alive or just shifting the focus. Tom felt the weight of her insight hang in the air. Was he clinging faithfully to Samantha's memory, or was he disguising fear as reverence? He observed Lily, who seemed to absorb every word exchanged, her innocence caught in the complexities of their adult world. The night stretched on, and as they continued to paint, conversations flowed about life, loss, and laughter. Tom watched as Mia attuned herself to Lily's rhythm, gently coaxing her into sharing her thoughts about her mother. The dynamics were shifting, but as the colors intertwined on the canvas, a storm brewed in Tom's heart. He sensed an inevitable reckoning approaching, an unspoken confrontation with his demons lurking deeper than he had anticipated. What would they truly discover about themselves through Mia? Could acceptance reshape their broken narrative, or would it uncover revelations that threatened to unravel everything they had so slowly rebuilt? The artwork they were creating was more than just colors on a canvas. It was a foreshadowing of the decisions they were about to face. A mirror reflecting the struggles of moving forward. As Tom pondered the road ahead, he knew that the next step was as vital as the brushstrokes they left behind, and it would require courage he wasn't sure he possessed. Would he embrace this shift, or would he turn away? The questions loomed larger as the evening progressed, promising an intertwining of past and present that neither Tom nor Lily could entirely foresee. Tom stared at the painting, a swirl of colors that seemed to pulse with the unspoken thoughts swirling in his mind. As conversations faded into a comfortable silence, he felt the weight of his choices pressing into his shoulders. How could he allow himself to lean into this new dynamic? Was letting Mia into their lives akin to abandoning the past? The flicker of the candle on the table brought him back to the moment. He noticed Lily's animated gestures as she explained her vision for their piece to Mia, her enthusiasm like a burst of sunlight illuminating the shadows that had fallen over their home for far too long. Yet Tom remained rooted in doubt. Embracing anything or anyone new felt like an imminent betrayal. Mia's presence offered an intriguing prospect, one that mingled hope with fear. Could they allow her insight to guide them through grief's thick fog? Accepting Mia's role in their healing so easily felt like an admission that they might move on a leap that terrified him. Lily, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing within him, looked to Tom with bright eyes filled with unfiltered trust. She wanted to connect, to communicate in tones grounded in colors and emotions rather than buried trauma. The dichotomy spiraled in Tom's mind. How could he help Lily navigate her feelings if he couldn't even articulate his own? His thoughts spiraled as Mia's voice broke through, offering gentle observations, gently pulling Lily into deep conversation. Tom felt himself shifting into the background, an observer rather than a participant, consumed by his internal monologue, a mental tug-of-war between preserving the past and engaging with the present. "Dad, what do you think?" Lily's voice shook him from his reverie. Sorry, what?" He stammered, caught off guard. Mia smiled, the warmth of her understanding a strange solace amidst his chaos. "I asked if you think there's room for new memories, along with the old ones," she clarified, still focused on stirring their pot of creativity. Tom inhaled deeply, searching for a way to respond that could honor Samantha's memory while also recognizing the present. I think there has to be space for both, he began slowly. Memories help shape who we are, but they shouldn't confine us. The response felt right, yet incomplete, as if his words merely skimmed the surface of something deeper. It amazed Tom how Mia coaxed these thoughts from him. He began to recognize that his professional life had taught him to navigate corporate jungles and negotiate business deals. Yet the landscape of his personal life remained uncharted and confusing as the vibrant colors continued to blend on the canvas. Each stroke performed by different hands. Tom awoke to the realization that acceptance both of grief and change felt like a muscle he needed to strengthen. It wouldn't come easily. It would require consciously deciding to release his grip on fear. Mia moved closer, observing the intricate layering of their painting. "You're catching on," she remarked to him, as if sensing the shift occurring within him. "It's about balance, a mix of chaos and order." Tom looked at the evolving canvas and saw it mirrored his inner conflict. Each patch of color indicated a challenge to confront. Every smear of paint held a chance to acknowledge the chaos of life. He thought of his job, how he navigated boardrooms with ease but faltered when faced with raw emotions. Was this what he needed? A creative outlet that bridged his personal and professional selves? As the evening wore on, Tom felt the line between past and present blurring, drawing him closer to the acceptance he had fought so hard to avoid. But beneath his newfound resolve lay apprehension. What were the stakes if he allowed Mia into not just their home, but their hearts? With each passing moment, he understood that risk was a necessary partner to any kind of growth. They had confronted loss together, yet could they also embrace the prospect of joy? Tom sensed that the real test loomed just ahead, waiting to force him to engage with life and love in a way that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. How would he navigate the space between what was and what could be? As he pondered all this, the soft laughter from Lily and Mia drifted through the air, a reminder of choices yet to come. The heartbeat of the painting resonated with potential, waiting for him to finally step forward. But as the night deepened, he felt an approaching storm, one that would challenge the equilibrium he was slowly beginning to build. How far could they go in rewriting their story without losing the essence of who they had been? And would he truly have the courage to confront the truths lurking just below the surface? Tom's unease hung in the air, thickening with every tick of the clock. The laughter of Lily and Mia seemed to echo like a haunting reminder of his hesitation. Could he truly allow this new chapter to unfold without losing the essence of what had come before? He forced himself to look at the canvas again. The colors a chaotic testament to the complexity of life, a mix of joy, pain, and the myriad effects of each stroke that as the conversation danced around him. Tom felt an urge to join in, yet he remained an outsider, shackled by the ghosts of his past. The rhythmic sounds of laughter only heightened his internal struggle. He yearned to reach out, to bridge the widening gulf that seemed to grow with each moment he hesitated. Mia's insights resonated deeply, but the risk of fully engaging frightened him. Would there be room for him if things changed too drastically? "Mia thinks we should use bolder colors," Lily suggested eagerly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "What do you think, Dad? Could we fit in some bright oranges or yellows?" Her innocence tugged at him. Here was his daughter, desperately trying to form connections and rediscover joy amid the rubble of their lives. He should support her inclination towards brightness, yet he felt compelled to warn her against the risks of disappointment. What if the colors faded, leaving only the stark monochrome of grief? "Bright colors are great, Lily," he replied, his voice cautious, "but we have to blend them with darker shades too. They remind us of all kinds of experiences." The impact of his words struck him, weighing against his desire to shelter her. Who gave him the right to dictate how she should paint her life? Tom's mind raced as he recalled the boardroom discussions he expertly maneuvered, where every word was calculated, tailored to sway opinions and maintain control. Here, though, there was no semblance of control. This was uncharted territory, one where he had to navigate on instinct instead of strategy. Mia's gaze was both welcoming and probing, as if she sensed the turmoil within him. "It's true, both vibrancy and darkness can coexist," she interjected gently, capturing the attention of both father and daughter. "It's like life, Tom. Chaos often gives birth to beauty, and sometimes we have to embrace the mess. Her words unraveled in him a sense of clarity, yet stirred deeper questions. How many walls had he built to shield himself from the chaos? How often had he replaced honest emotion with practical detachment? The corporate persona he had clung to seemed a facade, one that stripped him of the authenticity he desperately needed now. I guess you're right. Life isn't just one color, he conceded, less to Mia and more to himself. It was time to reclaim his voice, to connect. As the painting took form, so too did an idea crystallize within him. Maybe cultivating their creative energies could be a shared objective, a bridge to rebuild trust, openness, and perhaps even joy. He needed to redefine his approach, not just in art, but in connection. The act of creating together would require vulnerability, strengthening their bond while unfolding layers of grief yet to be faced. Why don't we try using the bright colors as a foundation? He suggested to Lily, a sense of determination surging through him. Then we can see how the darker tones can accentuate them. Lily beamed, charged with excitement. That sounds amazing, Dad. Let us do it. She bounced on the balls of her feet, her enthusiasm contagious as Mia nodded in agreement. But beneath that optimism, doubt still gnawed at his gut. Could he truly lead his family forward? Make room for new beginnings while respecting the weight of before. The balance was precarious, and he was acutely aware of the risks involved. The evening slipped into a deeper intimacy, yet underlying it was a current of tension that refused to be ignored. Suddenly, Tom became aware of an unexpected shift. Mia's laughter, filled with warmth, began to resonate not just in the air, but within his own fractured spirit. The lines between past pain and future potential blurred tantalizingly close as they assembled the colors on their canvas to bring forth their vision. A sharp knocking broke through their bubble of creativity, echoing ominously through the house. Each of them froze, anticipation combined with dread hanging heavy in the atmosphere. Who could it be? An unwelcome reminder of the past? Or perhaps an opportunity to confront the very obstacles that had kept him from embracing connection? The night had shifted. The stakes were higher than ever. Would that knock signify a step forward, or pull them back into the shadows of what they had lost? Tom felt his heart race. The moment of truth was rapidly approaching. Tom's heart pounded in his chest, the echo of the knock resonating with an urgency that seemed to shatter the fragile atmosphere they had crafted. Lily's eyes darted towards him, wide with curiosity, while Mia's expression turned serious, as if they'd all just been yanked back toward unresolved tensions. Who could that be? Lily whispered, her innocence casting a stark contrast to Tom's tangled thoughts. The lingering warmth of their shared creativity made him reluctant to open the door, confronting the uncertainty lurking at the threshold. But retreating would mean abandoning the connection he had only just begun to nurture. "Let me check," he said, forcing confidence into his tone as he stood. Each step towards the door felt weighted, charged with the possibility of unraveling all that had been slowly pieced together. What awaited him on the other side could just as easily dismantle the progress he had begun to forge. As he opened the door, time seemed to stretch. The last face he expected to see loomed before him, a former colleague, Clara, with her bright smile that always managed to penetrate even the most sterile of corporate atmospheres. She had been instrumental in his ascension within the company, a confidant of sorts in his journey through halls filled with ambition and competition. "Tom, what a surprise," she chirped, yet the glee in her voice clashed with the underlying tension he felt. "I was in the neighborhood and thought, well, I just had to see you." Her unexpected appearance felt like shards of glass digging into his resolve. Clara's world had once revolved around deadlines and endless presentations, an arena where he excelled, thriving on the competition. But that world no longer represented him. This knock wasn't merely a visit. It was a challenge, a reminder that life was not so easily compartmentalized. "Clara, this is unexpected," he managed, casting a glance over his shoulder toward Lily and Mia. Their curiosity simmered below the surface. But how would he navigate this reunion while balancing the delicate dynamics he desperately wanted to cultivate? "Oh, am I interrupting something?" she asked. Her gaze, though earnest, felt invasive. "Just some painting," Tom replied, meticulously choosing his words. "We were experimenting with colors." A knowing smile danced on Clara's lips. as if understanding the deeper significance of what lay beyond the door. Art can be quite therapeutic, she quipped, taking a step closer. Tom, you were always the creative type, even in the boardroom. I'm glad to see you're embracing that side of you. Her flattery burned with a distinct edge. Was this acknowledgement a means to pull him back into a corporate mold, a world he had started to soften his grip on? I'm trying, he said, each word feeling instinctual, almost as if he were explaining himself to an old version of himself. In her presence, he felt his old self stir, the one who thrived on the need to excel in a realm dictated by metrics and expectations, far removed from the softer, more human elements coming alive in his home. Can I come in? Clara pressed, breaking his thoughts, and before he fully grasped it, she stepped through the doorway, striding into his personal space like an unwelcome gust of wind. The shift was palpable. Mia exchanged a glance with him, her brows furrowing, sensing the unease that now permeated the room. This confrontation was not merely professional. It was personal, a reminder of the man he used to be and the many layers he was attempting to peel away. Sure, he said, the words tumbling out as he stepped aside, allowing her past. The moment felt like an admission of defeat, allowing a fragment of his old self to re-enter a space he hoped was evolving. As Clara settled onto the couch, with unmatched confidence, Tom felt the weight of expectation clouding the room. He had ventured into exploration of vulnerability with Lily and Mia, but could he maintain that openness with an old colleague who knew him through accolades and triumphs? Nice place you have, Tom. I hear you've been quite busy since taking the leap. How's that working out for you? Her loaded question peeled back layers he wasn't quite ready to address, exposing growth and uncertainty that vibrated closely. Did she sense the struggle? The hard-fought work he was putting into reshaping his identity, to redefine what success truly meant? He began, but his voice faltered. The contours of this conversation would demand a kind of honesty he had yet to fully grasp, just as much as he needed to defend the steps he was taking forward. Could there be room for both their pasts within the scope of his emerging life? Time seemed to hang suspended in the air as he weighed the ramifications of Clara's presence. The carefully drawn lines of his newfound connection with Lily and Mia could just as easily blur with this intrusion, rippling through his efforts at embracing a new day. And all the while, he could sense the excitement peeking from the art room behind him, colors waiting to burst free and evolve just like he was. As tension coiled through him, Tom knew that the moment had arrived. He was at a crossroads, caught between the familiar comfort of old ties and the potential of the new. The choice was his. Would he confront Clara's invasive familiarity or sidestep the issue, protecting the tender shift that had begun to take root in his family? The air grew heavy with anticipation as he took a breath, ready to lay the groundwork of this confrontation, a pivotal moment that might redefine everything. Tom's mind raced in overdrive, his thoughts bouncing like erratic strokes against a canvas. Clara's presence filled the room not just with physical space, but with memories of expectations and ambitions he had fought to distance himself from. The seated figure on his couch, casually crossing her legs, embodied everything he had shed in pursuit of a genuine life. Her bright smile suggested familiarity, but to him, it felt like an unwelcome reminder of who he used to be. Busy? He echoed, stalling, weighing how to respond to her probing question. I'm finding a new rhythm, exploring my creativity, connecting more with my daughters. The last words hovered between them, a tentative declaration that felt both empowering and vulnerable. Clara tilted her head, her curiosity magnified. That sounds lovely, Tom. But you know, a passion project doesn't usually pay the bills. Are you really making it work? Even as she spoke, her smile remained intact, though it felt as if she was putting him under a microscope. Each question dug deeper, like she was drawing from him the very marrow of his renewed identity. He could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he fought to present the evolved version of himself that defined this new chapter. Creation takes time, he replied, forcing steadiness into his voice. But it's worth it. Learning to embrace failure rather than running from it. Clara's amusement flickered for a brief moment, her interest ignited by the tension in his rebuttal. Failure? You never were one to think about failure. You always aimed for the top. The words struck a chord, reverberating through his core. That was the old me. The statement felt more like an explanation than a response, but he was determined to state his truth. He was no longer that man, driven solely by ambition, chasing accolades in a world defined by competition. Is that really so? Clara pressed, an eyebrow arched. The world out there hasn't changed that much, Tom. It still runs on ambition, and I know you want to succeed. Are you truly prepared to throw that all away? Throwing it away implies relinquishing something of value, he countered, feeling a surge of defensiveness. He recalled the late nights filled with spreadsheets and conference presentations, now overshadowed by evenings spent blending colors and laughter, a stark contrast he felt grateful for. I'm not discarding ambition, I'm redefining it. The air thickened with Clara's challenge, testing his resolve. It was as if she was an impromptu referee in his life's reevaluation match. His pulse quickened, not from fear, but from a simmering determination ignited by her skepticism. Redefining? She echoed, letting the word linger in the charged silence. You're talking about things that seem ephemeral, intangible at best. Do they really translate into something real? The question hung heavily in the air, drawing every gaze in the room toward him, Mia and Lily's eyes glistening with their own expectations. Clara's demeanor suggested she was seeking a display of what she considered real success. The thought pressed on him as he battled between explaining his choices and defending their validity. Tom took a steadying breath, scouting through the fibers of his own self-doubt. I believe in the worth of authentic connections now, he said slowly, words forming with care. I'm committed to being present for my daughters, not just in body, but in spirit. I understand now that what we create doesn't always have to fit into a neat box of traditional success. Is that enough? Clara's voice softened, her challenge morphing towards something that edged on concern. Can you really be fulfilled without the recognition, the accolades? In that moment, Tom became acutely aware of Clara's penetrating gaze, a window into his own inadequacies. Doubt bubbled within him, prompting a question he had yet to fully explore. Could vision alone be enough to redefine his future, to carve out a pathway of fulfillment that proved authentic and vulnerable? I guess that's the journey, he said, recognizing the profound exploration ahead. What I thought was important has transformed, and I'm learning as I go. Tom felt the weight shift in the room, Clara's confidence cracking just slightly. She had expected to anchor him back to the person he used to be, someone thriving on accolades instead of artistic expression. He could sense the dissonance within her reactions. It suggested that maybe she realized she couldn't box him in like before. But just as clarity began to dawn, an ominous thought flickered in his mind. Clara had come here for a reason related to something he'd once considered critical. A feeling of impending revelation wound tightly around them. But before he could pursue the questions that danced on his tongue, Clara smiled, though it lacked the usual warmth. Well, Tom, I really came here to discuss a project that might need you. The gravity of her words hit him like a dark cloud blocking a sun he had only begun to enjoy. What lay beyond this moment was shrouded in uncertainty, and he sensed he was standing at yet another crossroads, a new challenge contrasting the one he thought he had overcome. How much of his past would he need to engage with to navigate this emerging complexity? Would he allow himself to be pulled back into the shadows of competition or steer the conversation toward the path of transformation he had begun to carve for himself? Exhaling slowly, Tom braced for the challenge ahead, knowing that in unraveling the layers of this encounter, he might uncover answers he hadn't anticipated. Tom leaned forward, the air vibrating with the weight of Clara's words. What project? He asked, his voice steady but curious, almost as if he were testing the ground beneath his feet. Clara adjusted her posture, her demeanor shifting from casual to earnest. It involves a new product launch for the company. We've been brainstorming ideas for a fresh marketing angle. Your experience could bring a valuable perspective. The invitation hung in the air like a trembling chord, resonating with both a promise of stability and a threat of regression. Tom felt the rush of adrenaline surge through him, but it was mixed with a sense of dread. This tangential hook to his past was a slippery slope he wasn't sure he wanted to climb. You know, my focus has changed, he replied carefully, weighing each word as if laying bets on a high-stakes game. I do, she said, her brown eyes hardening slightly. But your knowledge could help us avoid a major misstep. This isn't just about prestige, you know. It could very well position the company to outperform its competitors. He could feel the gravitational pull of his old life tugging at him, the familiar allure of success whispering promises of recognition that sent shivers down his spine. Yet, somewhere in the back of his mind, a nagging certainty clawed at his thoughts. Success achieved through methods he had discarded could lead him back to what he had fought so hard to escape. "It's not that simple," Tom replied, steadying his grip on the edge of the couch. "You call it an opportunity, but I see it as a potential trap. Trading in the fulfillment of creating for the empty accolades of the corporate world isn't what I want anymore." Clara's lips pursed, her expression a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. "And what do you want, Tom? You mention authenticity and connections, but can passion really sustain you? Can it provide for your daughters?" Each question felt like hitting a nerve. Tom thought fiercely about the moments he had spent sharing art projects with Mia and Lily, the laughter echoing through his home. He was crafting memories that would last far longer than any quarterly report or recognition from a boardroom. But was that enough? "Can you tell me you're happy?" Clara asked, her voice softer this time, yet probing deeper than before. He hesitated, feeling the strife between his old ambitions and the peace he found in his new existence. "Happiness feels like a moving target," he observed, his voice betraying uncertainty. "But I'm learning that fulfillment is rooted in the present, in being there for my daughters, not in chasing shadows of who I used to be, even if it means being uncomfortable or stressed." She countered, leaning in slightly, her intensity sharpening. "I'm asking if you're prepared to confront that discomfort. Because you'll have to if you want your new path to truly resonate." Tom's heartbeat quickened. Was she probing him because she saw a glimmer of potential in his work, or was this merely a strategic play for her company's gain? Did he possess the capacity to merge his old knowledge with his new values? "Maybe it's a balancing act," he suggested. "I can learn from my past without sacrificing my present. I can still engage with what I know, as long as I set boundaries." Clara smiled again, though this time it was tinged with challenge. "But how will you maintain those boundaries? What if you falter? Your drive is still a part of you, Tom. Will you distill it to fit this new narrative? Or will it swallow you whole?" The tension simmered, igniting a thought that struck fiercely within him. Perhaps the path he was forging in his personal life wasn't as separate from his profession as he had believed. What if he could reshape his ambitions through the lenses of creativity and authenticity? He pondered how he could infuse the lessons learned during his transformation into the project Clara outlined. His skin prickled with the prospect of potential a new kind of synergy, but the stakes he would face weighed heavily on his mind. "Let me think about this," he said slowly, testing the waters, knowing. He was no longer just negotiating for a job, but potentially for the right to redefine success on his own terms. "Of course," Clara replied, her expression revealing a glimmer of respect. Yet, as they wrapped up the conversation, Tom could feel the ground shifting beneath him. The lines between past and present blurred, as the consequences of engaging with his old life loomed larger than ever. He wondered whether this new project might force him to confront the compatibility between his vision for a purposeful life and the demands of the business world he once thrived in. Stepping away from the desk where he had poured his heart into creativity, he realized that every choice laid before him was now not just about preserving personal avenues of happiness. It was about redefining his entire identity. The realization lingered, and with it, a new question emerged within him. Would the challenge of balancing those two identity fragments ultimately unravel him or give birth to something unexpectedly transformative? As he stared out the window, pondering his next move, a phantom sense of urgency sent a shiver down his spine. The time had come for him to face not only Clara's proposal, but also the unveiled complexities of his newfound self. What was he truly prepared to risk when the crossroads of his old and new identities collided? Tom spent the rest of the evening replaying his conversation with Clara. The shadows lengthened in the fading light as he prepared dinner, but the warmth of the kitchen did little to quell the chill in his thoughts. He kneaded the bread absent-mindedly, each press and fold invoking a rhythmic calm, though his mind remained tumultuous. What if this project could be a bridge, rather than a barrier, connecting his past with his present? He reflected on the countless hours he poured into his art as he immersed himself in colors and shapes. the world around him faded. Creativity had become his respite. Now, as he prepared a simple meal for the daughters who had become his anchor, he realized that the fulfillment he sought in his personal life might indeed hold value in his professional journey. Could he intertwine his passion for creativity with the corporate requirements of the project? As dinner drew near, the familiar sounds of Mia and Lily playing filtered through the house, a reminder of what claimed his attention. Their laughter echoed, a harmonic balance to the chaos of his thoughts. They entered, cheeks flushed and eyes bright with mischief, and the weight of the world fell away, if only for a moment. "Daddy, can we help you cook?" Mia asked, her enthusiasm infectious. "Yeah, we want to make the best dinner," Lily added, her little hands already reaching for the spoon. Tom felt a smile unfurling, pushing back the doubts that clung to him. "Absolutely. Why don't you both wash your hands first?" As they chatted away, the chaos of making a meal overtook him, guiding him gently back to the present. He became comfortable with the idea that redefining who he was not just a solitary journey. It involved others, all of whom influenced him daily. The way his daughters approached life with creativity and uninhibited joy mirrored the passion he had lost sight of amidst the corporate grind. After dinner, as they gathered around the table, inspiration struck him with the force of a revelation. "What if I took my ideas about the project and incorporated some playful designs you two can help with?" He wondered aloud, the idea blooming like a flower against the soil of his uncertainty. "Really? Like a secret project?" Mia's eyes widened, thoroughly captivated by the thought. "Yes," Tom nodded excitedly. "Something that feels real and fun. We can create together." This shift ignited a spark of determination within him, one fueled by a fusion of love for his daughters and ambition for his career. If he could create value infused with authenticity, maybe he wouldn't just be stepping back into his old life, but rather evolving into a person who could marry both worlds effectively. Later that night, while tucking the girls into bed, Tom allowed himself to fully bask in the warmth of those moments. As he kissed them goodnight, he felt a sense of clarity surging within him. He was no longer standing on the precipice of two disparate lives. He was an architect of something new and integrated existence that honored the lessons of his past, while embracing the joy of the present. Yet, as he turned off the light, the reality of his decision began to settle around him like a shroud. He closed his eyes, wondering how Clara might respond to his ideas and whether she would recognize the essence of what he intended to create. The next morning, he would draft a proposal, not just outlining strategies, but revealing the vision shaped by both his experience and his heart. However, he couldn't shake the anxiety of what would happen if those boundaries he had sworn to uphold started to blur once more. Would this new path demand too much of him? Risking his connection to his girls, Tom took a deep breath, pushing the lingering doubts aside. This was his opportunity to prove that success could be redefined not just in terms of accolades and deliverables, but also through genuine connections, creativity, and love. As he prepared to step into the office, adrenaline coursed through him. Was he truly ready to venture back into the corporate landscape? He couldn't help but wonder, was this the right time to challenge Clara's expectations, or was he merely setting himself up for a fall? With each step toward his desk, the weight of the decision felt heavier, but somewhere within him, a fire ignited. It was time to face the challenge of merging his innovative spirit with the realities of corporate life. Would he uncover a new identity he could proudly call his own, or would he find himself ensnared in a past he thought he had left behind? Tom awoke the next morning with a singular focus. The duality of his life had formed a new equilibrium, one that held promise but also uncertainty. He understood that he was standing on a precipice, caught between the commercial ambition he once thrived upon and the heartfelt joy he had found in creativity and connection. Today, he would confront this conflict. Today, he would draft a proposal that as he moved through his morning routine, he could feel Lily and Mia's laughter echoing in his mind, serving as a buoy, lifting him above the self-imposed burdens of doubt. He shifted the paradigm in his head. What would it look like to embrace the business world through the lens of heartfelt creativity? Instead of a rigid proposal filled with metrics and targets, he envisioned one that showcased human connection, a presentation that heralded authentic storytelling and imaginative design. After dropping the girls off at school, He returned to his study, the space now almost sacred as it held the spirit of his renewed identity. He pulled out the laptop and began to type, the words flowing as clarity surged through him. The project proposal took shape not just as a business document, but as a manifesto of his values. He detailed how the new marketing angle could harness the emotional truths of storytelling, how they could evoke genuine connection instead of mere consumerism. Hours passed. The sun shifted deliberately across the sky outside. When he paused, he scanned his work, a living testament to his evolution. He had woven lessons from his personal journey into a corporate narrative that demanded authenticity. This wasn't merely a project. It was a bridge, a melding of worlds. He took a deep breath and sent the proposal to Clara. The moment hung in his heart like a bated breath, enveloped in both apprehension and exhilaration. What would her reaction be? Would she recognize the authenticity he infused throughout? As if on cue, a ping alerted him, a quick response from Clara. Let us discuss soon. Tom felt a wave of relief. Yet, the moment was tinged with a subtle fear of either validation or rejection. What would this mean for his path forward, not just professionally, but personally? Emboldened by the thought, he headed home, excitement coursing through his veins, eager to share the day's triumph with Lily and Mia. They celebrated together over dinner, laughter reverberating through the room, a melody he cherished deeply. A few days later, Tom sat waiting for Clara in a trendy cafe. Orchestrating a meeting outside the stuffy corporate office felt fitting, a nod to the refreshing change he was embracing. Clara arrived, her demeanor both vibrant and curious. Tom, I read your proposal. It's different, she started, her eyes earnest. Different good or different bad? He probed, a teasing edge in his voice. Good. Clara laughed, her initial tension easing. It's inspiring. I think if we frame this properly, we might just capture what the market is missing. Tom's heart raced. It was validation without reservation. He listened intently as Clara outlined her vision, nodding eagerly, throwing ideas back and forth. They delved into the nuances, the stories behind the brand, how emotion must be at the forefront of every campaign. In this exchange, Tom recognized his dual commitment, to maintain his integrity while embracing the ambitions he no longer feared. Clara saw him, the full spectrum of his evolution, and for the first time, he felt seen beyond the facade of corporate shields. After an intense and inspiring conversation, they began to outline next steps and target timelines. Let us plan a workshop with the team to brainstorm this together, she suggested, eyes bright with enthusiasm. As they agreed upon a course of action, Tom felt a satisfaction he'd longed to experience. He was weaving creativity into structure. What was once a feared merger now felt like liberation. Back at home, he shared their plans with Mia and Lily. Their vibrant excitement fueled his spirit. What if we built something together too? Lily proposed, eyes shimmering with the thrill of the idea. The prospect of involving them in the project blinked like a beacon. Absolutely. We can weave our stories into this campaign, he agreed, beaming with possibilities. The very next day, he brought them to the brainstorming session. Observing Lily and Mia contribute ideas, they filled the room with creativity. They prompted laughter and sparked discussion, reinforcing his belief that the family was now more than a unit struggling with grief. They were a team working together toward a shared goal. Weeks morphed into moments of greatness. The project gained traction, and what began as the initial proposal evolved into a campaign that exemplified connection and love rather than salesmanship. Tom felt the burden of his past easing, the weight of isolation dissipating with every step they took towards communal success. As they prepared to launch, genuine testimonials poured in. Real stories from clients resonated deeply with audiences, making connections that brought warmth into the lives of customers. They saw past the product. They saw the people behind it, celebrating creativity and connection. This was the achievement Tom had yearned for. He was no longer a mogul frozen in his castle of solitude. He was an architect of vibrancy woven into their lives. Standing at the launch event, with Lily and Mia by his side, their faces beamed with pride as the audience received the embrace of their work. Tom found comfort in the recognition shared not only for the brand they had created, but for the reconstruction of his heart and his family. Looking at Mia and Lily, he realized his life had been redefined in every way that mattered. He had accomplished something remarkable not just professionally, but personally. The journey he had undertaken was not devoid of pain, but full of growth. And it was this growth, this transformation, that would guide him onward. Tom savored every moment. This was satisfaction. This was fulfillment. This was true success. Now, it is your time to step forward and transform your own narrative. If you've resonated with this story, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on exclusive emotional stories that inspire personal growth. Leave a like right now to boost the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and theories about Tom's journey. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting conclusion. We need your support in spreading the word about these transformative narratives. Don't wait even one more second. Join our journey today.